the years, there have been a list of BL anime deemed controversial by some fans for their depiction of age gap couples. Loveless, Papa to Kiss in the Dark, Okane Ganai, and most recently the 2016-2017 aired production by Studio Deen, Super Lovers. Now listen, I am not here to convince you, honestly, to do anything other than watch Major Second and Idler 7, but I'm definitely not going to convince anyone to get into a story with themes that they may feel uncomfortable with. I get why people don't like age gaps, they're ageist, just kidding! But what I don't get is why Super Lovers is as viscerally despised as it is, and absurdly at times compared to other squick meme anime, particularly Boku no Pico. Super Lovers is not Boku no Pico, for a list of reasons. Top of that list being, its name is not Boku no Pico. Duh, you dumb bitch! Actually, I think before we get into what Super Lovers isn't, we should first establish what Super Lovers is. The GOAT, if you know, you know! Super Lovers is such fun, and honestly, compared to its age gap and family over-friendly contemporaries and predecessors, not even really that scandalous. It's the first base of scandalous anime, honestly. The story of Super Lovers tells how little lost boy Ren Ren got adopted by the Kaido family. Oh yeah, slight spoilers, I guess. You don't care. You either know or we're too scared to watch. Anyway, Ren Ren gets saved like the little lost puppy he is by the mother of his eventual super lover, Haru Kaido. Ren meets Haru when Haru comes to visit his mother one summer in the land of maple syrup and the Beebs, with their ensuing interactions allowing Haru to become the key to domesticating the Widow Wild Boy. A process through which Widow Wen starts to fall in love with the older boy, who is one of the few people to show him kindness in the cruel land of Canada, an affection Haru won't pick up on until years later because he's inept at picking up on these things. Oh, and for math's sake, may I mention, Haru and Ren have an 8-year age difference between them. At this stage of the story, literally episode 1 and only for episode 1, which is why this being the poster for the series made no sense, other than to prove that all publicity is good publicity. Haru is 16, Ren is 8, and they have yet to engage in any loving of the boys. Yes, Haru kisses Ren on the lips, but not because he's attracted to him, it's because he's Canadian. That's what y'all do, right? See, Trump was focused on the wrong border. At the end of the summer, Haru goes back to Japan, promising Ren he can live with him and his brothers after Haru graduates high school, but of course, Haru loses his memory of his summer with Ren thanks to a car crash. Fast forward 6 whole years, Haru is now a 22-year-old host and Ren is now a 14-year-old civilized wild boy. Ren comes to Japan, stays with Haru who doesn't remember him, meets Haru's hot half-siblings, and ultimately confesses to Haru. A confession Haru doesn't understand is romantic, instead he perceives it as Ren just liking him as family, cause again, he's very slow on the uptake. It isn't until a second time skip, starting at episode 4, when Ren is now 16 and Haru is 24, that their relationship actually starts to manifest and progress. Understanding of feelings are exhaustingly explored, playful Canadian kisses of familial affection take on new meaning, and eroticism is introduced into the relationship, all while sex itself still has yet to occur. So to summarize, while Super Lovers has its inevitable couple meet in these appearances at ages 8 and 16, it is not until they look like this at ages 16 going on 17 and perpetual 24 that any sexless loving of the boys occurs. Now again, if step-sibling cest and underage gaps bother you, it is what it is. You left a long time ago. You probably were never even here. But for comparison's sake and to keep it in the same subgenre, I find it interesting that I haven't come across the same age gap complaints about Super Lovers being mentioned around Hitorejime My Hero. Another teenager and adult BL couple, and their age gap is bigger. It's so big! And they have a full-on sexual relationship. Now, I do not take issue with the Hitorejime age gap. It's not real! I'm just using it as an example to prove a point. But again, if age gaps aren't your thing, they're not your thing. I just hope Umibe no Étranger also isn't your thing, cause who did I just say was 17 and 24? And if age gaps are your thing, then comes the second taboo. Now, step-sibling romance, I would argue, is seen as less offensive in general trope discourse, partially because it stays a trending category on porn sites, but also because ethically, there's nothing wrong. I mean, it would be strange, it's not a personal kink of mine, but y'all aren't related, y'all aren't biological family, it is what it is. In fact, it's your parents' fault for not realizing putting horny unrelated people under the same roof is an awkward conversation waiting to happen. Honestly, we don't blame parents enough in society, but let me not go on that rant. Within Super Lovers, it's Haru for the most part of the series, who views Ren in a familial light and whose initial displays of affection are from a place of familial adoration. While Ren is the one who from the beginning never perceived his feelings for Haru as familial, a sentiment after so much relationship development, Haru eventually also shares. So at the end of the day, this isn't even incest kink outside their legal familial status. Now, non-BL anime with incest themes, whether step-sibling or even biological, that are about boy-girl couples are ever prevalently successful and received in a joking manner within fan discourse for the most part. OreImo, Eromanga Sensei, Koikaze being the only example I can think of that was widely condemned, although still has a higher score than the first season of Super Lovers. And my personal favorite, The Irregular at Magic High School, which has a whole cult around the Oni-sama of the relationship. I am in that cult! can't enjoy that and not enjoy Super Lovers. I'd be a hypocrite. And I personally would find you to be a hypocrite if you wave off incest theories of boy-girl couples as foolish, but hold incest stories of boy-boy couples to a higher moral standard. And you know what other wildly popular anime portrays a full-fledged sexual relationship between step-siblings with a 7-year age gap between a minor and an adult? Domestic Girlfriend. That's right, Domekano is Super Lovers. I never heard the word grooming or arguments about consenting minors around that shit. No, the only reason Domekano trended for the wrong reasons was because of its ending, because that many people were invested in it without being uncomfortable by its more controversial themes. But Domekano was so ridiculous. Why is Super Lovers not? Why is it always media depicting same-gender relationships that have to be taken literally, particularly same-gender relationships between men? Even Citrus was criticized through the lens of its proximity to BL. It's not BL. Natsuo's ugly, undesirable ass fucking a 23-year-old woman never made anyone uncomfortable. In fact, it turned them on. No one's trying to throw Hina in jail. Well, no one's trying to throw Hina in jail for moral reasons, just for misogynist ones. And misogyny, along with homophobia, will forever plague any BL anime when it's not even that controversial in comparison to its hetero counterparts. Goblin Slayer, with its gratuitous rape scene in the first episode, is rated TV-14 on Crunchyroll, while Super Lovers has a big red mature warning that it's rated TV MA. In the whole of the 2 seasons in OVA, Super Lovers at most shows kissing, implies a handful of masturbation moments off-screen, and portrays consensual fondling. And don't argue with me over Ren can't consent, he's a minor. Ren is a drawing. And a millennial. That means he's 26 to 41 years old! In 2016, when the anime was released, he was 20 to 35! Listen, we can argue back and forth about the morality of Super Lovers. I'm sure there's plenty of people who hate Super Lovers and Domekano and everything else I mentioned, and hate anything that occurs in fictional settings that don't adhere to real-world rules because you wish your fiction was reality because you actually have power there and your reality sucks. But fiction is not reality. Reality is shit like this. What in the fuck? You're complaining about Super Lovers? Child, literal child, are you okay? Addressed with the law. Can someone check in on Gen Z? The kids are really not alright. Again, this video was not created to change anyone's mind or convince anyone to like Super Lovers. Like what you like, don't what you don't. But for some time now, I've seen complaints about Super Lovers that clearly came from people who had never seen Super Lovers, just saw the poster and assumed. Or went into it knowing it was BL, made wild assumptions about the direction it would go based on stereotypes about BL subject matter, saw Haru give Ren a big ol' Canadian kiss in the first episode, assumed they would stay at those ages the whole story, thought that they would eventually fuck at those ages, and yikes out of the shit. And I get it. Preconceived notions about a genre's subject matter and premeditated misconceptions based off anime's marketing are why Idolish 7 continues to be the most underrated anime of all time. So I figured I'd just lay it all out. For me, Super Lovers will forever be a fave, and like I said in my top 10 BL anime for real video, y'all not gonna shame me out of my fave. And if you have no shame in your comment game, share in the comments which Kaido twin you think is hotter, Shima or Aki. I used to be and still kinda am all in on Venaki, but Shima, why not both? Hashtag keep it in the family. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss my last 2 videos of Fujoshi February. It can only go up from here. Or can it? Cause my next video is about the redemption of Dakaichi. Bye!